Are you recording the session?
Yes,
All
hello.
right.
You
Good
can start.
afternoon, everyone. Glad to have you all. Glad to have you all with us today. Our topic is reflective teaching, the days of the pandemic. And I'm really happy to share some ideas with you and to listen to our distinguished guests, Dr. Mohammed Khalil and Ms. Aman Khayat. I'm sure you have great ideas to share with us today. We're going to benefit a lot. And this is the time where self-reflection really matters and could really be used in enhancing our skills and developing our own skills as teachers. Now, let me start with defining what self-reflection is. And just a second. Um, or reflective teaching. Reflective teaching is an activity to recall what has been done in class and evaluating the process of teaching itself. This is very much related to quality matters. And this should be done whether there's corona or not, whether there's an emergency or not. We need to reflect on our own teaching. The purpose of doing this is to improve the quality of teaching itself, as we said. And self-reflection does not have to be done through writing notes after the class, or you can record your own classes. You can get a peer, you can get a colleague to observe the class. You can keep a diary, right, and write notes every day. Make sure that you write notes every day. There are different ways to make use of self-reflection, and I guess our speakers will be telling us more about that. Today will be, just a second, we'll be talking about reflective teaching. Dr. Muhammad will be telling us more about the obstacles that we face these days, teaching during the days of the pandemic, and how self-reflection can function. Also, Dr. Amani will be telling us about self-reflection and how to make it more systematic and more functional in these times. And we'll be holding a discussion in which we'll be referring more to how can we hope for the best as teachers and at the same time have a plan B, get ready for the worst. Now, let me I guess I need to stop the share now. All right. Let me start with introducing our speakers. We've got Dr. Mohammed Khalil, who has more than 20 years of experience in the field of teaching English. And he has a lot of experience in teaching IELTS as well. He got his ME and PhD from Cairo University, and he's also the past president of NITESA. He wrote many books and material related to IELTS teaching and training. And he also works as an academic consultant for many schools and organizations. We also have Ms. Aman Khayat. She's also teaching. She got her first MA from the American University in Cairo, and her second MA in Instructional Technology and Media from Columbia University. She's the founder and the chair of the NYS TESOL, SIG, Technology Enhanced Language Learning. And she taught in many places. She contributed to many conferences. And one of her main concerns is digital storytelling. Please tell us about this. Give us some idea about digital storytelling. I'm really personally interested in that. So let's welcome Dr. Mohammed first. All right, Dr. Mohammed, can you share with us some of your ideas about what happened these last 8 months or 9 months and how teachers could handle the coronavirus if it spread all over again, and what we learned from this past period?
Yeah, I know. I hope my voice is clear, but just let me welcome everyone. I'm so honored to be with my old colleagues from the university, and I'm so happy that I'm here in the company of renowned scholars, recollecting and reflecting on our teaching experiences during the corona. Of course, you know that many of us are using Zoom. And at the very beginning, we felt that it's not Zoom, actually, it's a kind of a Zoombie experience. Because at the very beginning, you felt that students are not interacting with you. And I think that was one of the major challenges. Students are demotivated, there is no frustrated. They've always been used to interacting face to face, and all of a sudden, they're locked up in front of a monitor screen. Don't you think that was a challenge at the very beginning? Because Corona came out all out of the blue, you know. There was no kind of preparation. We felt at the very beginning of the Corona that, oh my God, there's no more face-to-face. We have to adapt ourselves to the situation. And the major challenge was that parents and the mummies group were not satisfied because they were actually studying with their kids, trying to adapt themselves with the online. So we have the parent pressure, students not adapting, internet disconnections all the time, internet glitches, and most importantly, most of the parents are not tech savvy. Of course, you know quite well that if we just look back, maybe 10 months ago, most of the parents and mothers were not familiar with what Zoom is. They don't know what you mean by online. Maybe now with the new academic years, parents have become more kind of prepared for the new academic year with the online stuff and all the material. And a typical scenario in the Corona age that you feel that teachers speaking, that was actually one of the scenarios. As you can see, that was one of the scenarios. Hello, everybody. We're going to talk about academic writing today. And students, no comments, no comments, no comments. And out of 20 attendees online, you find one student say, yeah, go on, teacher, go on, teacher. There is no reply whatsoever. So the teacher himself sometimes feels demotivated. So we have two problems: student demotivation and teacher demotivation. Parents not prepared, and that was a major challenge. And at the very end, you find one student writing in the chat box, please record the session. And that's another problem. Recording the sessions for students encourage them not to attend, because they don't attend and they don't watch the recording. That's why I believe that there could be some solutions. Since we talk about problems, the ABC administration, with problems, you have to provide solutions. And that's why I suggested something called flipped classroom, flipped virtual classroom. You know quite well that in many places like the AUC, we have what? That many places like the AEC, we have the flipped classroom. However, now we really need to have something called the flipped virtual classroom. I don't know if Dr. Amani agrees with me or not, that sometimes it's important to send something recorded before they attend, so that there will be more interaction. You understand me, Huda? So for example, we create a WhatsApp group with the students and we send them, today, we're going to talk about this. Today, we're going to talk about academic writing, the basics, the fatal mistakes. Prepare yourself, watch this video. One way to reflect on the problems of demotivation is that make the students use the tools that they are playing with and use them online. For example, do you know TikTok or not? Do you know TikToks and all that?
Sure.
Yeah, you can ask the students to record themselves and upload the video on TikTok. So they are using fun for entertainment for education, which is the edutainment, as you know. We can do something else. YouTube, do you know YouTube or not? YouTube, we can ask the teacher to have a channel of his own and ask the students to upload the videos on the channel. So by doing so, we are integrating social media into online teaching and learning. And this makes the whole thing a lot of fun and interaction. Because as you know quite well, with online learning, you'll find something quite interesting. With online learning, students want to boast about and to be proud of their achievements in front of their colleagues. Why not use something called virtual office hours, YouTube video clipping, learning, TikToks to be used, and most importantly, all the time, call the students by their names. Don't just say, hello guys, no. Hello Amani, Hadia, Shahindak, do you hear me? So when they do not answer, you can kind of change the background. Do you know this or not? You can always change the background. You can always attract their attention by doing something more fun. Why not? Today, guys, I need to tell you about, today I would like to play the role of the examiner. And don't worry, I will try my best to be a kind of a very strict examiner. You see? And then you can put this kind of mustache on your yeah, it's a kind of virtual. So you are attracting the attention. Don't worry, guys, don't worry. I can be the best ever examiner. I can be so cute. And today I will try my best to be so friendly with each one of you. These faces can be played with children and they attract the attention. And of course, you can always make them kind of fun. You can all the time. And don't forget, guys, when you go to the school, don't forget to put on a face mask. So all the time you can use filters, you can use backgrounds, you can have a WhatsApp group for what? That you need to have a WhatsApp group for what? You really need to have a WhatsApp group for something very, very important, which is providing the preparation time before the lesson so that it makes it kind of interactive. Number two, virtual office hours, meeting them according to certain hours to build rapport, by the way. And by the way, online learning can be a lot of fun if you play with them kind of videos, movies, and all that. And don't forget, all the time, you can always do what? Something like emojis. Didn't you know that emojis can be used in teaching or not? So you can tell them, guys, I'm going to use some emojis in the chat box, an emoji of a heart, then it's broken, then a boat, then two ladies, then a baby, or a man and a woman and a baby. Maybe they make up a story from that. So you have to reflect on the fact that if you find the virtual classroom boring, no, we really need to think about something very important, to use the tools that they are using. And by the way, do you think that voice modulation can be one of the ways that can attract the attention of the students? Don't you think so? Hello, guys, can you hear me? Hello. Hello, can you please give me a thumb up if you hear me? Can you please give me a thumb up if you hear me? Give me a heart if you understand. Give me a thumb up if you like it. Give me a heart if you like the class. If you're lost, give me a crying face. So you see, so all the time you can use kind of emojis and little things like that so that you let the students love the interaction. Online learning for me is a lot of fun. And most importantly, don't forget that when we were stuck with the corona, we felt something really strange. That you can usually, this is one of the techniques, if you want to build rapport with the students, ask the students to go into the classroom 10 minutes early. I don't know if you guys have tried this or not, but you can ask the students not just to call them by names, having virtual classroom, office hours by using emojis, but you can have something called rapport time. What do I mean by rapport time? That you ask him to open the mic, open the cameras, and let's talk for 15 minutes. Just pep talk. Do you know the pep talk, Huda? Kind of chit chat, a hearty talk. Hadia, hello, how are you doing? How are the boys? How's life? Hello, Shahinda, long time no see. How is everything? So actually, sometimes when you personalize everything for the first 10 minutes, this creates a lot, this develops rapport with the students, and this helps a lot. And don't forget, we always have something called open the mic and the camera. And this is actually quite controversial. Some teachers force the students to open the camera and the mic. And for privacy purposes, some universities have written down in the terms and conditions that teachers should not force the students to open the camera and the mic. But still, you can do that with the permission of parents, especially with young learners, maybe children. Open the camera, put on something. And by the way, if you want to make virtual classroom interesting and not demotivating or boring, there's a very nice game called Go and Fetch. In other words, they open the camera and you tell the boys or the girls or the young learners, please go now, get me something with the shape of a rectangle from your place. Go now and try to find something from your kitchen that has got the shape of a heart. Can you please give us a presentation about your kind of doll or teddy bear, so they can actually use things from home with the presentation, with all that. Once again, one way to make things fun is to use something called breakout rooms. I don't know if you've heard about this or not. Yeah, thank you very much, Amani. You're right. Have you ever heard about something called breakout rooms? Of course, you've heard about that, don't you? Right? The breakout rooms. Hello, guys. Once again, the breakout rooms. Breakout rooms means we divide you all to rooms and you go and visit every room as if you are doing group work. And this was one of the problems when I kept reflecting on how to turn the whole classroom into interactive. I found out that one way is to use the breakout rooms, emojis, presentations on YouTube, presentations on TikToks, and number 5, using kind of all the hearts and the reactions on Zoom, and most importantly, gamification. What's the best websites for games? If we're using gamification, virtual gamification, what could be the best website ever for games and quizzes that can make the internet and online teaching quite interactive? One of the best websites ever is called Quizzes. I don't know if you've heard about it or not. It's called Quizzes. Hello, I don't know if you know about it or not, but yeah, it's called Quizlet. Of course, Kahoot. I don't know if you know this or not, but one
No,
of the
I
best
don't
ways
use
is
it.
that you can post a link on the chat box and you ask all the children or all the students, young learners, teenagers, everyone to interact with you, and they play games. And most importantly, you can always make them do whatever they like with annotations. I don't know if you have noticed the word annotation or not. Annotation, it means students, different students can go and mark on the whiteboard so that they all interact with the drawing. And this gives them a kind of a sense of teamwork. That I think with all the reflection on online learning, I can see that there is nothing impossible. Online learning unleashes the creativity and the beast inside every teacher. Inside every teacher, there must be creativity. Teachers are actually actors and actresses. They've got a sense of drama inside of them. And with the online learning, this unleashes the beasts in front of them, inside of them. And this helps them to use whatever it takes to attract the attention of students. Maybe use videos, of course, audiovisuals, group work, as I said, YouTube and all that. Never, and this is my kind of conclusion on the self-reflection of my role as a teacher, never surrender to zombies. Never surrender to students not interacting. Whenever they don't answer you, ask them, guys, I'm going to show you now something, a video clip for 1 minute. I want you to think about it in breakout rooms and come back to me. And by the way, here is the secret. If students do not join the breakout rooms, this means they did not accept the invitation, which means they are asleep. Do you know this or not? So once again, if you ask them, join the breakout rooms, Zoom gives them kind of an invitation. If they don't join the breakout rooms, this means that they're asleep, because you keep calling them, guys, please join the breakout rooms. So this is one way to kind of wake them up. And don't forget, don't leave them on their own. You can, it's not just about chat, open the mic. Don't forget, don't just meet them during the session and the time of the session. You can always have something called virtual classroom and virtual rapport time. Before the session, 10 minutes, have a chit chat with them about something not related to the course to make it kind of casual. And by the way, I don't know, it's not a big deal if you simply reflect your actual background. I don't know why people say not background. You can actually reflect your virtual background so that this, at least for the first 3-4 minutes, gives something, a very kind of an atmosphere of cordial atmosphere, very friendly, that you are at home with me. You see, guys, at the background, I've got the niche of my marriage. So I don't know if you know this or not. I've got the sofa, I've got the dining table here. This is my place. Sometimes for the first 5 minutes before changing the background, you can do lots of things, and this actually develops rapport with them. Don't simply record the video. By the way, recording the session is a double-edged weapon. It encourages the students not to attend, and after that, they don't have the time to watch the recording. So they lose track of the course. And this is something really that bothers any teacher. Motivate them to speak. And most importantly, this is my piece of advice: disable private chat on Zoom. Disable private chat, because sometimes if you enable private chat, you can find students getting into the chat of another student during the session, and they comment, they laugh, and you don't know about it. As a host, you can go into the account and you disable the private chat among partners. You can have something like Facebook and WhatsApp groups to build something called flipped virtual classroom. Don't forget, this website called Quizzes. I want you all guys, please, to use this website, because I think this website is one of the best ever. I don't know if you heard about it or not. It's called Free Quizzes online as well. It's really nice. Yeah. Yeah, here we go. See, guys, it's called Quizzes. I don't know if you've heard about this website or not. This is quite interesting. So it's very interactive, very nice, funny, entertaining as well. And as you can see, many students can take games and quizzes online on their mobile phones, you see, and they see the best achievers. So it's a lot of fun. And by the way, for people who are not very familiar, with quizzes, here is another website. Do you know Google Drive? Do you know Google Drive? Sometimes I do this with my students. Instead of using Google Drive just to save things as a virtual memory, there's something called Google Quiz. I don't know if you heard about this or not. Google Quiz. So you simply send them the link on their mobile phone and they do the quiz on the mobile phone. And then after that, you answer the quiz with them online. There are so many things you can do actually through virtual classroom. And I think that virtual classroom is the future. My very final message is that if teachers totally kind of reject the virtual classroom and the online, you have to face the reality that virtual and online learning is the future. And part of the intelligence is the ability to adapt. Adaptability is one of the features and the characteristics of the global person who enjoys interpersonal skills. If you really want to develop, you have to accept the fact that face-to-face education will never be back as before. It will never be for 5 days. Yes, after the corona, things will never be the same. So maybe we'll be back face to face for 3 days, 5 days, we don't know. Maybe 1 week will be off. We are getting used to online learning because it saves time, it saves effort, it saves transportation, and most importantly, it can be a lot of fun. Simply go to Google. You can always remember to do something like new doc, new form. On the new form, you can create something called Google Quiz. You have so many things here, like Google Quiz onto the form as well. The form after that, you can send the link itself to the students on WhatsApp, and they take the link, and you see the progress. You see how many students took the exam and their scores, and most importantly, their common mistakes. I believe in that online learning can be a helping tool. Students should not be zombies, and you should wake them up. Thank you very much indeed. I appreciate listening to me. I think I took my time, 15 minutes. You told me you've got 15 minutes only, yeah?
Thank you so much, Dr. Muhammad. This is really helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you for pinpointing the problems in a very realistic manner, because yes, these are the problems that we suffered from as teachers, and these are the problems that I saw, at least my children are suffering from as students. Sometimes when the teachers, they're very, you know what, they're a bit scared to use these facilities, or maybe they're reluctant to use them, or maybe they don't have facilities or they don't know how to use them. Most of the time, my kids fall asleep while attending their Zoom sessions. Or they just say, Mommy, we're bored, we're going to take a short break, and they close the camera. So yes, yes. I like 2 points that I like to mention. The first thing is integrating fun and entertainment. Why not? Why be that strict, or why be that tough with students? They are already in tough circumstances. One of the obstacles that I find these days is that students are really in a bad mood. They are really psychologically affected by the events, by the lockdown, by staying at home most of the time. Most of the activities are stopped. They don't see their friends that much. So why not be nice with them? Why not try to personalize matters, like you said, and show them, no, you can still socialize, you can still talk to your friends, you can still talk to me the way you want, you can still show me your house. All right. um, that's really perfect, because it does not have to be that strict as a traditional or an ordinary or an on-site classroom. We have facilities, we can be creative, and can be very engaging. I hate it when I find that one of my kids fell asleep, and I find that this is somehow the responsibility of the teacher as well. Thank you so much. That was really interesting, and I wrote so many points. See, I'm a very good student. I wrote so many points here. Thanks a lot. All right, now with Amani. Amani, looking forward for your contribution. So would you like to start now? And then we're going to open for discussions. Obviously, give some time for discussions and questions. Please start.
So we cannot hear you. Dr. Hoda, can you hear me?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I was muted. Sorry. Thank
It's
you.
working now.
Yeah, okay. So I'd like to thank Dr. Mohammed for his informative and great presentation, and for all the interesting websites and apps that he talked about, and all these obstacles that teachers have had during the outbreak of COVID-19. I also trained teachers at the beginning of the outbreak of COVID-19, and I was really shocked because when I started the SIG, I had high hopes of integrating virtual reality, augmented reality classrooms, and talking about things that are more advanced. But the thing is that teachers, they never used Zoom. Most teachers here, they use Google Classroom and other platforms for digital storytelling, iExcel, Quizlet, and other stuff. So it was really a challenge for me as a teacher trainer, and at the same time for teachers here in the US who were never into a tech. And so I'm going to talk about it from my experience as in international accreditation. I've been doing classroom observations. I'm a CEA peer reviewer, and I also have been doing classroom observations, and I've been into also international accreditation, and I've been doing lots of curriculum review and curriculum review and curriculum design. But before we start, I'd like you to go to menti.com and use this code. I'm gonna open it. So this is Menti. Can you see this? When you go to menti.com, please use this code 4576102. And then you will find this question: what was or were the biggest challenge or challenges faced since COVID-19 outbreak? And then you will find 3 slots. You can write about the challenges that you've had since COVID-19 outbreak. I'm waiting for your responses. I'm gonna test it also. So please go to menti.com. It's called Mentimeter. And then enter the code 4576102. And this is also one of the things that you can do with your students to make them attentive in the classroom. So I'm gonna type something. Yeah, please type your responses. I'm waiting for your responses. Okay, so we have a response here. It wouldn't take seconds from you. Please go to menti.com and use this code 4576102. Actually, Menti, you can use bar charts, pie charts. It's really cool. It's a very cool website. There used to be another, the very first website, I don't remember its name, but Menti now is taking the lead. There used to be in the past, but I don't remember the name now. Most people now are using Menti. Yeah, so yeah, I'm waiting for your responses. So Menti, actually, have you ever heard of the clickers? You know how to be a millionaire, this show, Man سيربح المليون. You know the clickers when they used to click on the answers? So this idea came from Stanford University when they wanted to engage students in the classroom, and they used those, it's called clickers, okay? And then they started developing those clickers into websites like Mentimeter. Yeah, so the first website was called Poll Everywhere. Poll Everywhere. It's also one of the best websites to engage students online or even in a traditional classroom. So I'm waiting for your responses. So you can add 1 response or 2. You can also reflect on technology. What were the problems that you've had? Okay, studying. Okay. So you can also reflect on pedagogy, curriculum, warm-up activities, engaging students in the classroom. The problems that you've had were, okay. Okay, so I'll be waiting for 2 more seconds, 1 more minute. And then I'll be moving to the next slide. It's so easy. So you can just go to menti, menti.com. You can, by the way, you can just, even if you are on your phone, you can still use the Safari or whatever browser you were using. Stay home, yeah, of course. We've all had jobless, yeah, of course. Okay, well, maybe I should have made my question more specific. I meant the biggest challenges inside class. Okay, no problem. Bored, my kids, anxiety. Of course, even those challenges would affect us as teachers. Okay, well, actually, okay. So I'm gonna move to the next slide. Basically, Okay. So what were the reasons for these challenges? Don't say COVID-19, say something else. Okay, maybe you are not, maybe you needed more training into EdTech, maybe balance between pedagogy and technology, whatever. So please go to the same, so menti.com, and use the code, the same code, 4576102. Actually, because we don't want to waste much time, so I'm going to wait for only 1 minute. Getting sick. Okay, very good. Of course, these are called word clouds. So the more people agree on certain keywords, the more you find them bigger. Have you ever used more technological training? Okay. So the more, if you know word cloud or word clouds or Wordle, these have been very old word cloud platforms for also engaging students in the classroom. And there are lots of ideas on using word clouds in the classroom. Actually, we can use these in order to write an essay, in order to make it as to elicit information from students, and then also to elicit vocabulary, and then maybe we can ask them to write an essay or reading response for something. Okay, so 20 seconds more, and then I'm gonna switch to the slides. Yeah, this says a lot about engagement in the classroom. Wow, okay, or maybe this says a lot about internet connection. Okay, chronalism, don't learn new things, not ready, world was dying, okay, getting sick. Okay, cool. So let me just, yeah. Okay, so I'm going to talk basically on self-reflection. Okay, I'm not going to talk about what are the tools that can help you in the classroom, but what are the tools that can help you as a teacher. Okay, and but before self-reflection, if I self-reflect on things that I do in the classroom, actually I need help because I need someone to give me feedback about this reflection. So before self-reflection, I need first, as a teacher, to attend professional development workshops. And I always prefer, I don't like actually, if I'm going to talk about theory and pedagogy, I'd rather talk about them in terms of technology because I'm very oriented to EdTech. And so what are the platforms that are used in the classroom? What are the pedagogical frameworks that or the pedagogical approaches that can help me integrate this kind of technology? Because when we talk about technology in the classroom, we don't talk about technology per se, okay? We talk about it as a way to engage learners in the classroom. And so also one of the things that we do before self-reflection is peer observation. So why not attend one of the classes of one of my peers who has been an experienced teacher and who's done great things or had a good feedback with the students. If I don't have access to peer observation, we can also just go to YouTube, okay, and then watch. There are a lot of training videos on YouTube in certain parts of the lesson. And so, okay, so how do I start class? Okay, how do I do a warm-up activity? How do I orient my students into the lesson objectives, the lesson vocabulary, and so on. So as we do in accreditation, when we first do accreditation and go to universities or standalone ASL programs, So we divide ourselves into two teams: a team that handles academia and a team that handles administrative stuff. So in academic stuff, we look at the curriculum first. Okay. So as a teacher, I should start with the curriculum. Okay. By starting with the curriculum, I know, okay, so what are the students' prior knowledge? What's the level? What are the learning objectives? What is the learning outcome? Okay, so self-reflection is very important, but it has to be based on certain factors in terms of teaching. Okay, the first one is curriculum. What are the learning objectives? What are the learning outcomes? So by the end of this lesson, or by the end of this level, or by the end of this semester, what would the students what are the students be able to do? Okay, and it's a very good thing that Dr. Muhammad talked about flipped learning, because actually flipped learning is a way that actually engages students in the classroom. So instead of the students sit in the classroom and listen to the teacher very passively, so they can watch videos. And also there is a very good a website. It's called Pause It, Learn, or something like that, in which you watch the video, and at the same time the video pauses and you answer some questions. So it's also interactive, flipped learning, and then you come and reflect in class about these questions. So before self-reflection, it's very important, and this is what we do in accreditation. We go and ask people about the learning. Okay, so what do you think about teaching, learning outcomes? We look at the way they teach, okay, and so on. So okay, so why self-reflect? So now I have attended the professional development workshops. I did peer review. I know what I'm supposed to do, because understanding the objectives and the goals of my lesson, of my course outline, makes me understand the needs of my students. And that's why at the beginning of the semester we give the students diagnostic tests, right, or surveys, to understand their problems. And so why we are doing this? This is part of actually of the design thinking, because even though you have activities in the classroom, I'm not a robot, I'm a human. So I'm a human teacher, okay? So even if my advisor gave me, okay, so those are the activities that you should do with your students, no, I'm not gonna do them, because they are struggling with this and that. And that's why we talk about technology as personalized, as a means to personalize learning. So if I find out that some of my students in the previous semester, they were struggling with certain language or they had linguistic problems. So I would say, okay, I'm gonna divide my class into 3 groups. Then I know that this group has problems with this group has problems with this. So we can make for example, if you heard of jigsaw activity, for example, jigsaw reading activity, this is a great one that I do it also through breakout rooms. So I divide the students into so group 1, 2, 3, and then they start reading the same thing, and then I regroup them, and the student actually becomes a teacher, in which he or she starts talking about the topic, teaching others, and the second student takes part 2, the third students take part 3. So all of them, they learn from each other, and they also become like teachers in the group, in the jigsaw activity group. So self-reflection, it improves our teaching strategies, because I would reflect, okay, so I've been teaching listening or reading this semester. These were the objectives, but I noticed that my students were not engaging in this. Why they were not engaging? They didn't do well in their summative assessment or formative assessment. In these particular parts, maybe they include pragmatic features or pragmalinguistic features or grammatical or whatever. Okay, so I have to, next semester, I need to focus on this. Next semester, I need to focus on students who are shy. So I need to use, let's say, digital storytelling, for example, in which I can use things like Powtoons to engage the students and to make them, to bring agency into the classroom. So the students will create their own stories. I can have them. So here in the US, I ask my students to talk about their countries and to bring their countries into class. For example, landmarks, talking about their favorite food, and they describe their favorite food. And I always tell them that I'm so happy to teach ESL students because I feel like I'm visiting every country. And in other countries where you don't have immigrants, you can ask them to talk about their families, or talk about a great person in their country, and so on. So they will bring, and of course we have to encourage an environment of respect in the classroom, and we have to be assertive on that. Understand students' needs and better our needs analysis and teaching performance, because this is the very first thing that we do at day one. What are the students' needs? It's not a matter of just coming in, teaching, and then leaving class. No, I need to understand my students' needs. So I'll start first by a diagnostic test, even if I know that these students are B or level B or C, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes students just choose questions and then they get into a higher level. So I need to make sure that I understand my students' needs. I talk to them. I've had a Chinese student who was very silent at the beginning of the semester, and I started to ask her questions. I teach college level students. I don't teach children. So I started talking to her and saying good stuff about China, and I'd love one day to be, to visit your country and stuff like that. And and one day she was giving a presentation. She couldn't speak. And then I said, you know what? I know that you will do it, and I know that you will give the best presentation ever. And all the students actually, they were smiling, and they started giving her a round of applause. And I don't know what happened. She changed. She became a different person. She started giving the presentation, and actually other students from other countries, they were, okay, we are envying you now. We're not sure whether we're gonna give a presentation like you or not. So it is this also feelings of support and and being not judgmental in the classroom. We can't be judgmental in the classroom. We have to put ourselves into the students' shoes. We have to feel what they feel, okay? Some people think that, no, I have to give them feedback. Yeah, but it has to be constructive feedback. I have met with many students who are struggling, and I know that they might not do it, what they're thinking of. They might be so enthusiastic about it, but believe it, with encouragement, people can do wonders. Of course, when we reflect or self-reflect, we can also add or change to the curriculum. We can hone our skills in terms of understanding student learning outcomes and student supporting activities. Pedagogy, this is very important, okay? Make learning more enjoyable. Teaching last semester. So when last semester started, actually, I was also bored. I was so bored. I've never used to this, although I've been teaching online for many years as a Udemy instructor, but it's like my life has changed. I can't go outside. And so I took my students, when one of my students cried one day, he said, I can't go back to my family in Colombia. I thought, okay, you know what? Let's go to Mozilla Hub. It's a virtual reality platform where you can take your students for free on a room, and then actually they were actually chasing each other inside the room, and it was so funny. I also took my students into Engage VR. It's a virtual reality platform. You can wear the Oculus, whatever Oculus. I have Oculus Quest or Oculus Rift, and or you can actually download the laptop, Alt Space VR, Science Space, VR Chat, not VR Chat, no, but not VR Chat. Okay, so there are many platforms that you can use in order to engage students in your class. Understand pedagogical, this is very important, because when you talk about teaching and technology, it's nothing without pedagogy. So there are some platforms that I'd love to talk shortly about. Maybe we can talk more about them in later webinars. So this is the Gibbs model. It's an iterative model. It's like learning through repetition. And actually, this is based on like design thinking models. So description, what happened, feelings. So this relates to empathy, evaluation, what was good and what was bad, analysis, conclusion. Okay, so what do I need to do in order to improve this? Do I need to change some parts of the course outline, the syllabus, or what? Action plan, how will you improve? Also, this is the experiential model. It's like, it's not only seeing is believing, but experiencing is believing. And concrete experience. So what was the experience? Reflective observation. How am I reflecting on the experience? Abstract conceptualization. So it is like, okay, so what does that mean? What are the weaknesses? What are the strengths? And and okay, so and how these how can I translate these weaknesses into learning more about the pedagogy and how to integrate technology in the classroom? Active experimentation. Okay, so I'm gonna plan and try out what I've learned, and then I'm gonna go back to concrete experience to see whether it worked or not. So basically, these actually relate to you know, design thinking. How do we design things? This is one of the documents that has been created by one of the American universities. It's a self-reflection instrument based on standards. And here, actually, when we teach, we adhere to certain standards of the institution. So we have to look at the vision and mission of the institutions that we teach in, and what are their standards, and are we very confident with it? Do we understand the major concepts? Do we learn? Do we teach according to those standards, and so on? And I just want to focus on these questions, and I have actually included links to those questions. So so these are actually daily questions for self-reflection. And that's why we want it to be systematic and functional. Okay.
اللي عند المكتبة دي زبالة
Questions.
ولا تقريبا المقاسات صغيرة كده.
Oh. Okay. So evaluation questions by the end of class. So was this activity successful? Why or not? Okay. So there's some noise, I'm sorry. Okay, so I should ask myself, there are a lot of questions that we should ask ourselves. So let's say that my students today were not interested in my class, for example, for some reasons. So why was that? Was it in terms of the vocabulary? So what could be a good warm-up activity, the activity that I can do in order to make it or to simplify my class? Sometimes there are websites that use artificial intelligence in order to simplify certain vocabulary words in class that we can use them. I'm not gonna, I wish you can attend the learning together. So there are lots of websites that can help teachers talk about these or use these in the classroom. Rules and relationships. So are the relationships that I have with my students helping or hindering their ability to learn? Am I judgmental? What is about my what is with my feedback? Is it dynamic? Do I say, oh, thank you? No. When you give feedback to your students, it should be a dynamic feedback. So I usually ask my students why. So maybe it's a very easy question, but I need to understand whether they know that this is the answer or not. So if the answer, let's say true, say, okay, why true? Because, so they have to go back to the reading passage and then give me an evidence, okay? And then I would give feedback. Yes, because they mentioned this and that, so that's why it's true. So our feedback should be constructive with our students. We shouldn't be judgmental with our students in order to make the classroom more effective. reflection on assessment and grading practices. When we talk about assessment, of course, we talk about validation. So do my assessments really reflect learning or merely task completion or memorization skills? So when I'm creating those tests, so do they really reflect learning? Okay, going back, so we used to do in the past, I don't remember the name, but we used to create, they used to create, I used to work in Saudi Arabia, and then they created this website that actually you upload the test, and then it's something like SPSS. So it compares the test questions to the learning objectives. Okay, so you have to design your assessment according to the learning objectives. So if the students should learn, for example, inference skills, you shouldn't put a question on, for example, skimming and scanning. For example, of course, we know that we start first with skimming, scanning, assumptions, inferences, and so on and so forth. But if I did not put a question related to inference, so what am I doing? So the assessment does not reflect learning, okay? It's just merely a task completion or memorization, which does not reflect what my students are learning. Professional development areas. In what areas can I still improve professionally? I've seen teachers here in the US, they go to easy workshops, and because they are paid by their schools, mostly workshops, they start from $50 up to like whatever, 200, and they just go, and they don't actually, they're not selective in choosing the ones that would lead them to improve their teaching skills. And that's why we've had these problems when we are trying to train teachers. And of course, not only teachers, it's also parents, for example, who do not speak English or who are not tech savvy with technology. So it was really a challenge this year. So these are some tech tools to do self-reflections, e-portfolios. Many teachers here in the US have been doing e-portfolios in order to talk about the way they teach, put some resources. You can start with Google Sites. If you have a if you have a Gmail, you have all free applications, Google applications. So you can start Google Sites. If you don't know, I don't like Google Sites. So you can use WordPress, okay, for free, the free subdomain, not the main domain. So you can also use WordPress. You can also use PBWorks. And the best thing about PBWorks, it's a wiki. And PBWorks is also for collaboration. So you can also invite other teachers to give you feedback about your work in class. So guys, this is what I did. And maybe you can put snapshots of your class or whatever, or you can put some links, and then you can have people interact with you. There are also some note-taking apps. So usually when we teach, sometimes I don't do that every day. Do this every day. Sometimes I do that. So how do we reflect on so note-taking apps like Evernote or Notability? So today I've had this problem in my class. So it's like keeping a journal every day. And then once you do self-reflection for the whole semester, you have this pieces of information, and then maybe you can think of themes, for example. So what do these journal entries have in common? Okay, maybe I need to learn more about technology. I need to learn more about engaging students in the classroom. In which perspective? Listening, speaking, reading, whatever. These are some useful tools in general, which will also help you as a teacher and students to be engaged in the classroom. So I don't know if you've ever heard of Padlet, but Padlet is like, it's a platform. It's like where you create cards, and each card contains pictures. You can also put the syllabus. You can also put links to other websites, and the students also can go to these Padlets, or they can also create their own. It's like you can make them as collaborators. So you can post a question, and then they can create their own Padlet as answers with links and pictures and stuff like that. And actually, Padlet, I think it became after ThingLink. If you ever heard of ThingLink, because I used to use ThingLink in the past when it was free. So ThingLink is also, but ThingLink works like you use a picture of mobile phone, and you can also ask your students to create a story. So this picture, let's say it's a picture of Egypt, and then they will talk about famous monuments. So they will put something like a mark on Giza, for example, and then they will put a link for Wikipedia. Okay, and then they can put a picture, for example, on Luxor, and so on. So they can create a very interactive story with certain things. It can be emojis, it can be links, it can be pictures, it also can be videos. So on a small picture of a map of Egypt, you can actually create a whole story, and students can create different stories about Egypt from their own perspective or based on the story prompt. So these are really great apps, and they don't really require a person to be very tech savvy. They're very easy. Kahoot, for example, they have two modules. A module that is in class where you show your students the screen, and then on their iPhones they can choose the questions, and also they can have the the asynchronous mode, where you actually post the link, and then they can do it on their own, and then you post something like a time limit where they have to finish these questions maybe in 2 hours or 3 hours duration. So if students are busy now, they can do it 1 hour later. And actually, I think it's like you can make it like a championship, and who won and who was the first person, whatever. Class Dojo. I don't know if you ever heard of Class Dojo, but there's also one. It's also good. It's actually created by a company in Egypt. It's called Teacher Kit. It's really good, but I like Class Dojo with school kids because I actually used it with college level students at Pace University, and they really liked it. So the student, they don't put their images, they actually put monster, so a monster avatar, and then you check the attendance through Class Dojo. You give them feedback, whether good or bad. There are many things that you can do with Class Dojo to make your students engage in the classroom. And also the students get their code, a student code, and also a parent code. So parents can also look at what the students are doing. Diego and Perusal, these are apps where you can post a reading passage on these websites. I know Perusal. I've used it as a student and as a teacher. And in Perusal, you post a document, a reading document, and then the students, instead of responding in a forum or in a discussion board, they just annotate, they highlight the text, and then they they annotate. They start giving comments, asking questions, and then other students have to interact with them, maybe answer the questions or comment on the reading passage. And it's really great. It's much better than forums and discussion boards. Students get more interactive, and they click on the pieces that they like in the reading passage. And so animation apps. So I didn't want to write the names of animation apps because there are a lot, but I love using Powtoons. I ask my students to do digital storytelling with Powtoons, and also Toontastic. But Toontastic is a Google app, by the way, and you can easily integrate it. They changed it, actually. I don't know why. They made the Toontastic 3D. So students, it's really cool and it's really simple. And you teach them the storytelling arc, beginning, middle, and an end. And actually, it's really amazing. So Toontastic, is also one of the apps that will make students engaged in the classroom. They will create their own apps. Of course, with COVID-19, students don't meet. And I ask my students to change their voices when they record two characters. And they do it. They don't have any problems with that. So if they have two characters in the story, they change their voice for one of the characters, and they really enjoy it. They feel that they did something in the classroom. They are so proud that they did something like that. They created a story. It's an animated story on their that they submitted in class. I think I've taken much time, and thank you so much. These are the resources, and this is my email on New York State TESOL. And thank you. I'd like to thank you so much for attending today. Thank you. Thank you, Hoda and Dr.
Thank you
Mahmoud.
so much, Amani. Thanks to you. Thanks a lot. This is really interesting. I don't know what to say. That's interesting. That's beneficial, interactive, and I don't know. I started already to write some points related to self-reflection. I started to reflect on my own classes now and on my own teaching, and I think that 2 points here are very interesting. The thing that we can use standards in self-reflection so that we know exactly what went wrong and what went right, because I know it's out of frustration, out of fear at the beginning of COVID-19. Many teachers would just say, this was bad. It was a horrible class. I hate it. I hate the way I do it. No, you just need to know what exactly do you hate. Why do you hate it? What went wrong? How can we make it right? So the use of standards would be really great. The use of e-portfolios would be really beneficial so that we share ideas together and we sort of share our self-reflections together, which is a great tool and might be the only tool for development during the lockdown. Thank you so much, Dr. Mohammed and Amin. This was really amazing. This is really amazing. I'm going to leave some time for questions. I already have a question here. And we need to wrap it up with some ideas for how to, hope for the best and prepare for the worst at the same time as teachers. Now that we've got like 7 months of training on how to be online teachers, how to expect the worst, how to try to sort of adapt and make our students adapt. So I'm going to leave some time for questions. I know we're a bit late, so a few minutes for questions. If any of the attendees, they do have questions. I'm sure they have taken lots of notes. Any questions? Well, in fact, I do have a question or a concern. Now, the thing is, with teaching writing and with teaching literature, it's when students, they need to write essays, they need to respond in writing. Sometimes, I don't know, I find this hard to teach online. And you know what? I find it harder to assess it online, to evaluate, to help the students with their online writing. Any tips for assessment and evaluation for writing and, for writing and academic writing and for critical response, like writing some analysis for poetry, for literature. So any tips for that?
Well, actually, there are a lot of things. So basically, as I said before, perusal is a great tool for students' interaction in the classroom. So this is one thing. Also, you can use word cloud. Okay, the word clouds at the beginning as a platform, as a warm-up activity. YouTube is also a great tool. You can actually have the students let them watch, for example, certain episodes or certain videos on this literary piece that you are discussing, and then they can also reflect on it. They have to do lots of readings in order to come up, because as we say, good readers are good writers. So they have to come up. Like yesterday, I was writing a critique to an interactive story, and I don't believe in the dramatic necessity. because I love interactive stories. And actually, I was doing this for To Be or Not to Be. That's an interactive story for Hamlet, Shakespeare's Hamlet. And I had to read a lot in order to come up with something that would support my evidence.